Did you say buttermilk Cathead biscuits and bacon gravy? Oh, you have come to the right spot. Let's go.
Bigfoot Cooking.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Cooking, where today we are making some Cathead buttermilk biscuits. Now, Cathead, yeah, y'all up north and y'all in some of them other spots, y'all may not know what a Cathead is, but we gonna educate you today. But we making us some Cathead biscuits, and we're gonna make us some bacon gravy. That's right, not your regular gravy. Well, I guess it's not irregular gravy. You can make gravy out of just about any fat you want. You could use butter, lard, but today we're using bacon. So let's get to the ingredients on this cuisine of the South. Now we're gonna start this process by making the gravy first. Now usually, if it wasn't for recording all this on camera and everything, I would kind of start them both at the same time, but it's a little easier to make the gravy because the gravy will hold, and then we'll make the biscuits. So let's start out with that. And for the best part, bacon. You must have bacon, at least a half a pack. Now you could do a little more, you could do a little less, but we're making the bacon because, well, it's bacon. And out of that, we need about a quarter cup. We're going to reserve a quarter cup of the bacon grease that's left over from cooking it, along with taking all the little bits of bacon and putting it back in the gravy to make it delicious. But we got our half a pack of bacon, which is going to render us down a quarter cup of oil. That's right, kind of empty now because we haven't done it yet, but we'll need a quarter cup of oil, a quarter cup of flour. We'll need about 2 cups of milk to go with it, and then of course putting the bacon back in it. Literally the rest of it's technique. That's how we're going to make the gravy for this. Now for the biscuits, well, we're going to do something a little different. You can do it one of two ways. With this, I'm going to use about 2 cups of flour. Now make sure you're using the all-purpose. That way it's got a lot of the ingredients in it that help make it go poof. But we're going to use about 2 cups of flour. The little bit of a difference I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of buttermilk powder. That's right, you can order this stuff. If you're not a regular drinker of buttermilk, if it's not in your house and you don't want to buy buttermilk just to make biscuits, well, you can get the powder and it stays for a long time. It's got a long shelf life. I think it's one of those prepper foods if you really get down to it. But we're going to use 3 tablespoons of the buttermilk powder. We're going to use us a teaspoon of baking powder to go in there to help give our poof a little more poofy poof. We're going to need almost a stick of butter. We're going to use a whole stick of butter in the process. We're going to use about 3/4 of a stick of butter in the mix, and then right at a cup of milk. When you mix this up, you're looking for almost a certain consistency with your dough. You get it too runny, it gets too sticky. You get it too dry, it doesn't rise the way you want. So I say cup of milk, but that'll get you about where you need to be. All right, so let's get started by number 1, making the bacon. Now we're gonna make our biscuits in cast iron, of course. So I'm gonna set this to the side. Normally, again, if I was doing this without recording, I'd pop this guy in the oven and set it at 450. But for the moment, we're gonna hold off. But if you're doing this at home, you could probably go ahead and set this guy in there now. All right, so to start this, let's go ahead. We're gonna take our bacon and go ahead and cut it up into, I guess you'd call bite size. I don't know, we're gonna do little 1/4-inch pieces of it. So let's see. Out with our bacon and in with the knife. Like I say, we're just gonna slice this up into, again, little 1/4-inch pieces, 10 centimeter if you ain't from around here, not 10 centimeter, 1 centimeter pieces. So we'll just slice and dice. All right, got the bacon sliced and still got all my fingers. Now let's go ahead and add a little fire to the situation. All right, and we got our flame on low. I'm gonna let this take its time. I'm not in a real big rush to fry this up, but I am after the goodness of the bacon grease. So this is the part that, like I say, this is gonna take a few minutes because I am kind of cooking this slow, and not really slow and low, just kind of slow. But again, I don't want to burn the bacon grease, but I do want crispy bacon. So there's really nothing to do right now. I'm gonna kind of skip ahead because this could get a little boring. All right, we got us some crispy bacon here. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my fire. Don't need it for a minute. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull off the bacon, set it over here on a paper towel. All right, now we're gonna pour off our bacon fat here. and get our 1/4 cup of liquid gold. Hopefully this goes well. Woo, look at there. I barely got any left over. Now, I don't know about y'all's house, but around here and around, well, the South, you either have one of two things that you save bacon grease in. You either got this aluminum guy or you got one that's kind of a brown tan ceramic one. Those are the only two authorized bacon holders out there. But we will always save any bacon grease left over. Why? I don't know. It's just a tradition. It's the way Mama did it. It's the way Grandma did it. It's the way I do it. And it's the way my kids do it. It's just a thing. I don't know. So now we got our bacon grease. We got our bacon. Let's start working on the gravy. All right, let's relight our stove here. Get that guy set to about medium. Now I did clean out my frying pan. So we'll set this guy back on here. And we'll take our saved liquid gold. Set it right back in here. Oh, I tell you what, I started cooking that bacon. No lie, even after eating breakfast, I got hungry. I had to go get me a little snacky snack. So, got our liquid gold in there. Now it's time for the flour. And see, in French cuisine, this is what you call making your roux. I just call it making gravy. But we'll get this all mixed up in here, and don't get scared, but it's gonna get real clumpy for a second. But that's all right. That's why you got the skillet or the spatula with the holes in it right here. That way, as you're going along, if you have to, you can mash down on it. That way, everybody gets all mixy good. Now, depending on how you like your gravy, you can let this go for a little bit and start to get brown. I like it where it's just getting hot like this, and we're gonna start adding our milk to it. See where you got the bubbles kind of looking like scrambled eggs? That's about where I'm gonna run it to. Maybe just a shade more, but that's it. I don't know. I like white gravy. I like nothing wrong with it. Just a little preference. All right. So let's get our milk. We're gonna add us a little bit to it. Don't dump the whole thing yet. But pour you some in there and get it mixed in. Don't want to scald your milk either. You'll burn it too. Let's see how we all of a sudden instantly start thickening up. That's the basis for good gravy. We got that in there. Let's add a little more and get this stirred in. All right, we got us a good incorporation. I'm gonna add quite a bit this time, maybe about a cup full. Since they starting to get acquainted, they're a little easier to get the friendship going now. Now, did you notice how when we first started, everything was all lumpy and bumpy and just wasn't real happy at first? But look at here, the more you stir it, because that's the key part, don't let nothing sit. The more you stir it, oh, it smooths up like velvet. Now see, we're getting to the part, I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn the heat off on this. We're getting to the part where the question is how thick you want your gravy. Me, I like my gravy just about to stand up on its own. I like it kind of thick. And so you see where I can pull this back and it's not covering right back into the pan. Now, when this cools down, well, it's going to thicken up a lot more. So I want my final consistency to be about like this, which means I need to make it just a little more runny right now. Oops. So we're going to maybe put just a little more in here. Like I say, I think I'm going to have a little bit left over. And once again, we're going to mix it in till it's happy. All right, see there where I'm pulling it across now? How it kind of fills in right behind it? We're gonna leave it right there. I think that's gonna come out just the way I like it on the final product. We'll mix it just a little more to finalize a few of these stubborn lumps that we got going on. All right, now we're gonna add back in, that's right, our crunchy bacon. Woo, get on in there, y'all. I'm telling you, like I say, I had to get a snack. Cooking that bacon just brought the hunger gene right out in me. With a quickness too, mind you. All right, and there's your gravy. Now, like I say, I'm gonna set this on the stove and we're gonna let it cool down for a little bit. Again, if I was doing this at home, the biscuits would be about ready right now to come out of the oven. But since I'm doing this for a camera, I gotta do it in stages. So we'll set this off to the side. Now this is where, like I said, I'm gonna turn my oven on at 450. I'm putting my cast iron in the oven with, yeah, we're gonna air bake cast iron, but we want it hot too. So when we plop the biscuit and melt the butter, you'll see. Just put your oven on at 450 with the cast iron in it and let's make the biscuits. All right, don't laugh too hard at this. I got a GoPro for my birthday, and so we are going to try this out as a bowl cam. So let me know what y'all think on the footage on this. I'm having a little fun with it, but we'll see how this looks. If y'all like it, you don't like it, kind of dumb, kind of neat, let me know, all right? That way I know whether or not this is a good idea or whether I'm just me being me, all right? So biscuit time. Let's go ahead. We're gonna start out with our flour. Now, you may have a preference on who you like, what you use. Me, I kind of like White Lily. It seems to work really good. I don't know if it's available where you're at, but the biggest thing is, like I say, all purpose, because it's got some of the rising stuff up in there. It's got the salt and just all the magic, all right? It just makes it go poof, and that's what we want. So 2 cups of flour. Let's see, cup 1 and cup 2. Now, biscuits is one of those things that you don't have to like do exact science. You don't have to measure it down to the nth. You gotta give yourself some room to get creative. You feel biscuits. You don't make biscuits, right? That was my problem for a while. I was trying to make biscuits, and it just wasn't turning out for me. Then one day, all of a sudden, the heavens erupted, and they come down and they said, "Brother, you're doing it wrong. Relax." And then the next thing I know, I got biscuits that look good, and so I want to share what I learned. So we got our flour. Let's add our buttermilk powder. Now again, if you have buttermilk powder, you could just go to the store and get you some buttermilk and use it instead of the milk. Or you could theoretically do without, but then you wouldn't have buttermilk biscuits, would you? All right, so that was 3 tablespoons of the buttermilk powder. Let's go ahead and get me a teaspoon leveled off of my baking powder. Got to get this right. Do not mix this up with baking soda. You put baking soda instead of baking powder, let's just say the chickens won't even eat that. Ask me how I know. And this is the one thing I always watch. People will go, and then you mix it, and they do that, and they're done. And I'm like, y'all ain't mixed nothing. You smeared it flat just because it's a powder and a flour and all of that. No, you got to get in here. You got to mix this up so that way everything is with everything. So don't just assume because you done. Give it a good whisk. Get that buttermilk powder, get that all the raisins, all the whatever. Anytime you do dry ingredients, mix it good. Mix it just a shade more than you think you should. That way you know you got it right. All right, we got all that in there. Now, butter time. We're gonna go ahead and mix in our butter. And this is another one of those that there are many fabled ways of doing it. Some say make sure your butter is cold. Some say freeze it. Some say grate it. Some say it don't matter. I don't know if I'm not in the it don't matter campaign, but I usually just get it out of the fridge, keep it cold. Now, I'm using my pastry little thingamabob here. Is it a butter cutter? No. Will it cut butter? Of course, otherwise I wouldn't use it. So we're gonna slide this guy down in here and just cut this into some pats of butter, for lack of a better word. We'll plop them in there. Like I say, I'm gonna use about 80% of this right here. I'm gonna save me just a little because when I put this in the cast iron pan that's in the oven baking up, well, I don't want my biscuits to stick. All right, now the whole point of this guy right here, I can now take it and get in here and mash it and mix it in with the flour. You like that flour cam? I mean, that's in your face right there. But we will mix this in and get it kind of well incorporated with the flour. Now, if you don't have one of these fancy gadgets, you can use a knife. I'm sorry, you can use a fork. You can get in there and use a fork to bust all this in, or well, you can use your hands if you really get in there to it and just mix it up with the phalanges. It don't matter. It's just, like I said, it's a question of how big do you want your butter bites, whether you want just the butter flavor or whether you want to see little morsels of butter all mixed into it. This is your discretion. Like I say, I get you from point A to point B. How you cook when you get there, well, that's up to you. All right, we got everything kind of mixed down to a pea size or less. We'll set our butter we'll need later over there. And now it's time for the milk. Now I got, like I say, use about a cup. I got a little more than a cup here because like I say, I hate to go back to the fridge to get just that little splash more. So we're gonna add in about our cup of milk. Like I said, I'm gonna reserve a little bit here just in case it gets too wet or too dry. and let's do a little mixy mix. All right, and there we go. We have one big, as you can see from the cam in the bowl, this is called your shaggy dough. Let's see how it's kind of staying together. It's not rolling up like you're making a bread dough, but it is kind of holding its own. So let's go ahead and get our counter ready. We're gonna take our, tell you what, salt shaker, best thing I ever found for this. We'll make everything snow a little bit so that way nothing sticks as we're getting this laid out. And now we'll roll this out. Let's see. Tell you what, let me tilt this camera up a little. We'll roll this right on out to the table here. One big happy biscuit lump. All right, I think we're done with our biscuit cam now. You know the coolest thing about this? GoPro, turn off. And it shuts right down. I ain't even got to get flour all over it. So I got my dough here. Let's see if I can keep from sticking to it. A little bit here, and we'll pat this down. Oh, a little sticky. Let's add a little flour to the top of it. Now we're gonna do some layers up. Yes, you can roll this, but I mean, it works just as good with the hands. We'll pull this up a little. Pull this over some. Look there, it's already sticking to the table a little bit. Get my bench scraper here. Do a little flip and put it back on some more of the powdery. Yeah, you work with biscuits, things get sticky quick. All right, and like I say, we'll put some more layers in this guy. Now, as I'm doing this and kind of mashing it down, I can feel those little lumps of butter that are still in there. Oh, makes it so good when it cooks up. Oh, and my pan's ready. All right, let's see, one last flip over here. I'm gonna move it right here to the edge. And I'm gonna push this down till it's about 3/4 of an inch. What is that? 18 millimeters? I don't know. 3/4 of an inch around here. All right, this old boy is blazing hot. I'm gonna take that last little bit of butter and set it in there. And we're gonna melt it around. Because again, I don't want no biscuits to stick. No, no, no. Now, did I need that much butter? Of course I did. But technically, no. You could do it with a little bit less, but I want that butter flavor all up in this thing. And if y'all remember, this is one of those cast iron pieces that I got that was pretty much rusted beyond belief. And I did a little restoration on them, and I got a video somewhere up here that links to that, where I actually took this thing, which was pretty much ready for the trash can, and brought it back to life and cleaned it and got it all blacked up, and it is non-stick as can be. I'm telling you, it gives Teflon a run for the money. All right, so we got this guy ready to go. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's cut us up some biscuits. Now, when you do this, push down and pull up. Don't do the whole twisty twist or anything like that, because you wind up sealing the edges and then they don't rise as good. And see, that right there is the beginning of a Cathead biscuit. We'll lay this guy right in here and do it a few more times. And there's our 5 happy biscuits. Tell you what, just because I hate waste, we'll take this last one and kind of set him in the middle. Don't know what he'll look like when we're done, but we're gonna find out. Let's go ahead and set this guy back in the oven. We're gonna give it anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. We're just looking for the tops to get nice and brown on them, and then we'll pull them out. So we'll be right back. While Chef is finishing up all the cooking, I just wanted to take a second to say, Merry Christmas. My wish is this year brings you prosperity, hope, joy, and of course, all those other holiday sentiments. I love each and every one of you, because we all know that Bigfoot is real. And I think it's time to decorate the tree with one of my favorite ornaments. Just look at that guy. Ooh, now that right there is biscuit perfection. I tell you what, that's how things should look. Now let's go ahead and pop them out of here, because you can have some carryover cooking with cast iron, and you don't want your biscuits to burn. So let's go ahead and slide these mama jammas right out of there. Whew, hot, hot. Now, this is where if you were making these biscuits for breakfast, just like putting bacon in the middle of them or eggs or what have you, you take a little butter and brush on the top of it and get that whole beautiful presentation. But today, well, we're having biscuits and gravy. It don't matter how they look, they gonna taste right. So let's see, for today's victim, I'm gonna pick this guy back here just because he's closest to me. And we're gonna take him, open this old boy up, and ooh-hoo-hoo. You gotta love the steam in the biscuit, right? Perfect. Now, we got our gravy, and it's cooled off some, and as you can see, things have thickened up quite a bit. Now, it's not cold, it's not room temperature, but it is not as hot as it was, obviously, when I got done cooking it. So, but like this, it's still thick enough I can serve it with a spatula. Look at there. Let me get a little bit more. Whew. That right there, that's what kings eat, all right? I'll tell you what, I'm not even gonna use a fork. I got the fork here, I was gonna be nice, but no. We just gonna pick it up and go for it. So, cheers, y'all. There is nothing like biscuits and gravy right out the oven. This is what they serving in heaven, y'all. And see, this is where y'all are wondering what to do with the throw together biscuit. Usually when I do my biscuits and gravy, it's not split in half like that. I will grab it and just tear pieces, smear it like this right here. And that way everything is bite-sized. When I plop the gravy on it, everything just kind of cuts up and goes on in there, and I don't have to worry about dry parts, wet parts. Heck no. I just gotta worry about eating, and eating is a good thing. Let me add a little more to it. Get on in there. This stuff right here, just as it is, whew, it is slap your mama good. Tell you what, knowing how good this is, y'all ought to be dang sure knowing that Bigfoot is real, and I guarantee you he likes biscuits and gravy. Y'all take care. I'll see you on the next one after I get done eating a few more biscuits. Oh, see ya.